Hello golfers, PGA teaching professional Todd Kolb, and we're here today talking about three big power leaks, three things that you very well could be doing in your golf swing that are costing you big time when it comes to distance. And these are probably the three most common things that I see when I watch people hit golf balls and they come into the academy and they say, hey coach, I want to hit the golf ball further. What do I need to do? Well, there's three things right away that I'm looking for that we're going to talk about today. I'm going to give you some education on that because I know it's going to help you hit the golf ball further. So the first one we're going to talk about is golfers tend to hit down on the golf ball. We're talking about specifically here with the driver. I'm going to tell you why that is killing your distance, why it's a huge, huge power leak. Next, we're going to talk about moving off the golf ball. There's a lot of confusion out there about what I call displacement, or people think, hey, I got to move off the golf ball. I got to get behind the golf ball to give me more distance. Just not true. I'm going to show you and tell you exactly why that is wrong, and better yet, help you fix it. And then the third thing, and kind of this is the elusive one, that poor transition. People say, oh, you're quick from the top, or you're swinging too fast. Well, I'm going to tell you exactly why that's impacting your distance and why it's a huge, huge power leak for you. So let's get into it right away. So hitting down, we're talking specifically here about the driver. Now, one of the things that we know with technology like radars and club fittings and all these types of things that we can do now is we know without a doubt that in order to maximize your distance with your driver, based on whatever your club head speed is you want to hit up on the driver. Now, why is that? Because when you come in contact with the golf ball, when the club is traveling in an upward motion with the driver, what that does is it increases launch, which is a good thing, all right, within reason, of course, it's a good thing, and most importantly is it decreases spin. So when you watch a shot, if you ever hit a golf shot, you're like, wow, that felt really solid, and it takes off, and it just kind of what I would call balloons. It goes out, it goes straight up, and then just come straight down. No roll. Okay, that is a shot that maybe even struck solidly has a lot of spin on it. And one of the reasons, now there could be many, I understand, but one of the big reasons could be simply because you're hitting down on the driver. You're hitting down on the ball with the driver, I should say. So hitting up is one of the easiest and best things that you can do to increase your distance and alleviate one of those huge power leaks. Now, we've got some great information at US Golf TV on our website or also on our YouTube channel specifically that can help you with hitting up on the driver. And if you went to our site and in the search you just typed in, hitting up on your driver or increasing distance, you would find some great information on that. So the one tip I am going to give you, because I'm not going to let you get away here without giving you one tip on how to actually hit up on the driver, and that is to simply check your ball position. When you're hitting your driver, check your ball position. That ball should be positioned probably more forward than you think. Very, very seldom have I had a student come in and I say, you know what, you got to move the ball back in your stance with your driver. Usually I'm telling them, hey Jim, hey Amy, move that ball up in your stance, because when you move it up, that will help you hit up on the golf ball a little bit. So that's number one. That's the number one power leak. That's the simplest one, the quickest one, the most common one that I see is golfers tend to hit down on the golf ball with their driver, so that will help you right away. Now, the next one is moving off the golf ball, and this is one I'm pretty passionate about because I have spent quite a few years working with the Swing Catalyst system, and if you're not familiar with that, you should check it out. Check out Swing Catalyst. Go to their website, read some of the information, because what Swing Catalyst is it tracks the interaction between the golfer and the ground. And so we use a pressure plate. So we can tell where is the pressure on the feet. And I did a video on pressure movement a little bit ago, and you should check that out if you want to know more details about, okay, what is he talking about? What's pressure movement and the difference between weight and pressure movement? Some really good information there. But at any rate, if you check out Swing Catalyst and you read some of the research and some of the stuff that's coming out right now, is that what you're going to see is what we're really looking for is to rotate basically kind of around the golf ball versus off the golf ball. And most importantly, we want to create some force down into the ground. All right, so one of the common things that a lot of golfers say is that, hey, I want to hit the golf ball further, so they want to move off the golf ball. They literally take their upper body and they shift off the golf ball because they're thinking to themselves, hey, I got to get a lot of pressure or a lot of weight. They'll even say the word weight, which is quite honestly incorrect. But anyhow, they're like, I got to get weight into my right foot. All right, now, you can get weight, if you want to use the word weight, it's pressure. But if you can get pressure into your trail foot, your right foot, which would be for a right-hand golfer, without displacing your upper body. Okay, now why is that important? Because when you displace a big of your upper body a lot, you start to move the low point of the golf swing, which gets into contact and that's a whole nother video. Okay, but you can still rotate. I can rotate and still stay relatively centered, but also be applying a lot of pressure down and into my trail foot. And it's the rotation combined, that's important, combined with pressure into the right foot, into the ground, not on the right foot, but literally into the ground. Listen up, this is important. That gives you the ability to push forward. Okay, so when I just move off the golf ball, that's like throwing a ball and going, I mean, it looks good, but that's not how people throw a ball. That's not how they throw a punch. What they do is they rotate and apply force down. It's the force down that gives you the ability to push off. Think about this. When you watch a runner or a sprinter, and they're in the blocks, all right? Why do they have something behind them? Why do they have the blocks that they're in? Why do they have that? So that they can push off that and get going forward. Same thing happens in the golf swing. When you rotate, if you don't push down into the ground, into your right foot, you have no starting blocks. And you're trying to sprint, and you got nothing to push off. All right? So don't confuse off the golf ball with rotation and turn. They're two completely different things. So we've got some great information on that. Like I said earlier, I did a long video on the difference between weight and pressure. And check out our YouTube channel or on our site. You're going to find some really good information there. So that was number 2. A lot of people say, hey, I got to move off the golf ball. That's just not good information. The third one, and probably the most elusive one, is poor transition. The move from backstroke to downstroke. And that's kind of, that's where the magic happens. You know, I'm not going to lie. That's where the magic happens. And for some people, that move is pretty easy. And for some people, that move is kind of hard. All right, so I want to talk about what should that look like in terms of the club. So when we think about this here, I get the club on the backstroke. All right, I'm in the backstroke. Now, what we want, and I'm just going to use a term here. We're going to call it like the balance point, or the weight of basically the weight of the weight of the club. Okay, and I know that's not like scientifically perfect, but I just want to create an analogy for you here and some information. So when I get to the top, in the first move, if the first move is for the club head to go out and the club shaft to kind of what we would call stand up, this would be standing up. If that happens in the first move, the transition, you've lost a lot of the power. A lot of the built-up power that you've created in the backstroke is now gone. It's like you've emptied the tank early. And people a lot of times will say, well, you're swinging out or across the top. I mean, that's kind of a phrase I use, and that's true. But what's happening is when the balance point, and this discussion we're having here, like I said, this is just kind of basic 101, but when the club head stands up and the club head falls too far out early, all right, early in the transition, you lose a lot of power. Now, what do we want to see? Well, we're here at the top. We want to see that first magic move of what we would in golf terms call the club shaft laying down. The club shaft laying down. And when the club shaft lays down, the balance, the weight of it kind of falls back and behind. And then that's when the energy is stored up and you can release that into the golf ball. Now, so you're thinking to yourself, okay, wow, that's pretty deep, right? That's pretty deep. Like, what is he talking about? So let me give you a couple analogies. So I'm sure most of us as a kid or at some point maybe you went tubing or water skiing, something like that. And your dad or your uncle or whatever, they're pulling you behind the boat and you're going along and you're going in a straight line. All right, so if you wanted to create some more speed, the person who's driving the boat, what would they do? Well, they would kind of take the boat and they would kind of turn it pretty quickly. And that would sling you out and around. And that's kind of similar to what we see, in the golf swing. A better analogy, however, though, to kind of really make the point is it's football season right now as we're shooting this video, is think of a kicker. Years ago, when I was a little kid, all the kickers, how did they kick the ball? They kicked it straight on, boom, just like this, like just straight along. Very accurate, but they couldn't kick. I mean, like a 35-yard field goal was a pretty long, 40, 45 yards was unheard of. 50 was like the record. Now you watch on the NFL or college, they're kicking the ball 50, 55, 60-yarders sometimes. It's crazy. But how do they kick it now? They kick it from the side, or more what we would call soccer style. So they come in, they're kind of on the side, and then boom, they swing the leg out and around. Same thing in the golf swing. When the club shaft shallows, or when it drops, the weight falls behind, and then much like the field goal kicker, the foot can sling out, kick out, and you can create some speed. Now, if you're listening to this, you're like, holy smokes, how the heck am I going to think about that in my golf swing? I don't want you to think about that in your golf swing. But I want you to at least understand the concept. You need to understand the concept. And once you understand that, all right, then you can do some drills. So once again, if you look at our YouTube channel or even our website, usgolftv.com, we have some great drills. One of them specifically, you want to look for is what we call the transition drill. The transition drill. That's a great drill that can just instinctively help your body create that motion. All right? So let's recap here. These are 3 huge power leaks that I see on a regular basis. These are the most common ones that I see. All right, when people come in and they want more distance. The first one is they hit down on their, we're talking about driver only. They hit down on their driver. Bad deal. Don't want to hit down on the driver. You got to hit up. Hit up on the driver. The simplest and easiest way to do that is maybe move the ball forward a little bit. All right, check that out. Number 2 is they move off the golf ball. People think you got to move off the ball or move your weight to the back, not even weight, move your weight to the back foot or, pressure the back foot. Okay, you can increase pressure in the back foot by staying relatively centered and rotating. Think of the analogy of like the sprinter, the 100-meter dash. They're not just standing up, right? They're down in a position, but more importantly, they're in a position that is allowing them to push into the ground so they can go forward. When you make your rotation in the backswing, if you don't have any force down, it isn't going to matter. We got some great things for you to check out, like I said, on our website about that. And then the last one, and this is I'm not going to lie, this is probably the most challenging one. It's what we call poor transition. This is the magic move. This is the separation move right here. And when I get a student in here and they have that transition and it's smooth, I'm like, oh man, here we go. I got something to work with. And so the concept there, just to understand that the weight of the club, the balance, whatever word we want to use for today's discussion, that when it stands up early, you're dumping all the energy, all the pressure out too early. When you let it shallow or flatten out a little bit, you store it longer and you can kick it out a little later, much like the field goal kicker, and you can create some late speed, which is what you want. So hopefully, we haven't confused you too much. The idea here is to give you some in-depth information and also provide you with some resources if you want to learn more about how you can eliminate some of these power leaks and hopefully help you start hitting the golf ball a little further.